Welcome to Made in Berlin meets Miami, and it's this Berlin edition because we had a wonderful event a couple of weeks ago in Miami, and so this is now the mirror event of this. And welcome finance and tech community, and I'm really looking forward to having you all here today. And before we start with the program, I'd like to introduce to you a little bit the FinTech Leaders Program. So I'm Achim Oelgard, I'm the founder of the Berlin Finance Initiative, and many thanks to Alexander Dahm to the right. Many of you know him probably, and if not, you should get to know him. He runs this FinTech Leader Program, and we started this about 1 year ago, and it is a program where we try to help companies, young companies, to go into the US market or vice versa. But the first year is more outbound. And so we made many friends around cities. And one city we started with was Atlanta. Atlanta came here first to Berlin, and we had our events and business delegation a little later in the tech ecosystem of Atlanta. And the other reason, the region is New York. Yeah. New York, of course, is a typical financial center, and there we had our time end beginning of November, and some of the fintechs, they really got the opportunity to find investors, cooperation partners, and so on. And the third region, and this all has a rationale behind it, is Miami. And here is a combination between Berlin and Miami. It's the Web3 and blockchain capital of the US, and Berlin is it for Europe, and we will learn more about this, what this means. And the next episode will be in San Francisco. San Francisco will be in end of April. And Alex has, again, a wonderful program, and we're designing this already. So if you are interested in this, get in touch with him. And the whole year ends then when New York and San Francisco is back here in Berlin on the 22nd of June. And the whole program is, as I said, it's an expansion program. And the last 2 days we had a workshop, thanks a lot to Ulrike from CV Labs. Ulrike, she runs CV Labs, and she'll say a little bit later to you here on this stage. And before we start now into our topics today, I'd like to thank you. Alexander, he is definitely one I want to thank you, because this is a very challenging program, and it is not easy, I can tell you, finding always this tiny amount and the right fintechs that are ready for the market or are already in the market. Let's say about 1% of the thousands fintechs we have in Germany are ready for such a journey. And we believe in this program this needs to be more. And not only we believe into this, that's why I'm thanking also the European Union and the city of Berlin, because the whole program is funded and financed by them. Even the Berlin Finance Initiative is a private sector initiative. It is a program where some interest also by the public side is in it. Then I'd like to thank you, of course, to all the speakers, the panelists, and moderator you will see later. And we have also some guests from Florida. One is James Kunstam. He's a representative of Miami, and I think vice president is your title, or no, executive president, exactly, of the Miami Beacon Date Council, and he'll tell you a little bit about Miami. After me, Ulrike will give some words to you, and Alexander starts into the whole day. So thanks again. And I hope we don't only have a nice conversation here and some insights. Afterwards, we have snacks and drinks and so on that you can hang out a little bit. And what else I have? I have something here. Let's see. because, yeah, I have to look it up. That was the most important part. Okay, give some insights on Miami and Berlin. In comparison, Miami has 14.7 degrees Celsius higher average maximum temperature. 14.7. Berlin has on the average 15.3 degrees Celsius in the average lower temperature. Yeah, so Miami has the beaches at the ocean, and we have it at the lakes. Berlin has 3.2 million inhabitants. I wonder, Miami only has 400,000? The core, probably, yeah? Yeah, of course, that cannot be. Yeah? Then, Miami has 4.6 years younger population. Okay. And, okay, it has 6% lower unemployment. Now, hold it, the Berliners here. Miami's gross domestic product is almost 3 times higher than ours here. But Berlin has cheaper monthly transportation tickets. And don't use it on, no, you will not be able to use it on Monday. We have a lot of strikes currently because of inflation. The rent for a 1-bedroom apartment, we talked about it, James, earlier, is about 1,280 euros lower. Imagine that. So we have like 2.5K and we have 1.2. So, and now we come to the selling points here. Berlin is in the ranking of the Mercer Quality Life Study, 53 ranks higher. I looked it up. You find another, I'm sure. Yeah. So we are on 13, you're on 66. Yeah? And okay, now let's come to the things where we combine each other. It's really the international startup and finance ecosystem that is vibrant, it is colorful, and there's something happening. And we have on climate tech, fintech, e-commerce, health tech, and crypto a lot in common. And so I think I stop here. Have a great start of this afternoon and a good discussion. James, the floor is yours.
Achim, thank you so much. So I had the pleasure of meeting Achim and Alex when they visited Miami in December and got very interested in all of the things that were happening in Berlin and the program here. So I want to take the opportunity when you invited me to come visit, to take this opportunity to come learn a little bit more. And so I've had my own observations over these last few days. I've been here since Monday afternoon, and to refute maybe some of your comments, I put together, if I could share a few of my observations over the last few days as kind of new to Berlin. There you go. So, of course, first, we're both big cities with unique neighborhoods. The population of Berlin, as I say, is about 3.5 million. The city of Miami is about 400,000. Miami-Dade County is 3.2, so just a little bit smaller than Berlin, but South Florida overall is over 6 million. So depending on how you slice and dice it, right? We also have young populations, you hit on that. Berlin is about 42 average age. Miami is average age of 40. So that might surprise some of you that think of Florida as being a retirement community, not so much, right? Both internationally diverse and welcoming from people all over the world. Miami actually has a population that's over 50% foreign born, so very international, very diverse, and that's one of our strongest selling points. We're both a magnet for talent and migration from all over the world. Companies are moving to Miami, moving to Berlin, accessing that talent, but that's also causing some of that spike in cost of living that I know that we're experiencing, but I've also heard over the last few days that Berlin has also changed in some of their housing costs as well, which is a challenge. Both a global destination for food and nightlife. I've been enjoying at least some of the food, maybe not so much the nightlife in Berlin, excuse me. That's also on my mind, I guess. Where Berlin has currywurst, Miami has croquetas, right? And it's not uncommon that as you're going to work as a professional, you might be crossing some of those folks that are leaving the clubs or nightlife from before. And of course, we're also hubs for innovation. and creative industries. So Miami is recognized as one of the faster growing tech hubs in the US. We have a venture capital raise in this last year of about 5.6 billion. And I understand that that tracks fairly closely with Berlin in this last year. There was a spike in 2021, but we're just about the same. Now, you might say, kind of, how does that represent? What does that? How does that fit within the framework of the U.S.? That's higher than Atlanta, higher than D.C. We're number 7 in the country for venture capital investment, ranked 7 in the country. And a lot of that is in early stage fintech and Web3, so part of the reason why we're here. So these are some of the reasons why I was really interested in Berlin, why we're alike, and why I think there's opportunities for us in Miami and Berlin, not Brazil, to build together. So I hope that you'll look into Miami a little bit more. We have 2 upcoming events. At the end of the month, we have NFT Week, which is going to be a whole slew of programs that include all type of Web3 programming and events. And then at the end of April, we have Emerge Americas, which is our largest tech conference, which I welcome you all to come. And it's a great program. Of course, there'll be other events throughout the year. And so lastly, just want to thank you all for being interested in the program and in Miami, and anything that we can do to provide more information about our community, we'd be happy to do so. Thank you very much.
And there's something, I have something for you, James. Please come here, because last time my suitcase came later than I was in Miami, and then this famous bear is the Berlin bear. Yeah? And I was not able to give you one last time I visited your wonderful city. Here we go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now I have the chance to talk a little bit about Berlin and the thriving Web3 scene in Berlin. As Achim told, or already mentioned, I'm heading the Berlin office for CV Labs. CV Labs is a subsidiary of CWC, Crypto Valley Ventures Capital. We are an investment company focusing on investments only in with blockchain applications, with a very broad portfolio. We invested in over 60 startups already and have different locations founded in Zug, Switzerland. From there, we expanded to Liechtenstein, to Dubai, to Cape Town last year, to Berlin last year too, and since last week to Lisbon. So whenever you're in Lisbon, not in Miami, then please have a look, check out our new office there. The question is, what do we do and why do we partner with the wonderful organization and the wonderful team of Berlin's Finance Initiative? Because we build ecosystems. What does it mean? We bring people together, we offer event space, we offer a lot of educational knowledge we share, we build bridges between politics, accelerators, and yeah, we really would like to engage the whole community to join the Web3 scene. Therefore, we don't only do smaller events in our locations. We have 2 very big events during the year. One is the blockchain hub at the World Economic Forum in Davos. We host every year for 4 days. We have a whole panel discussions with the latest topics and the brightest minds in blockchain. And then we have our famous CV Summit already on for the 7th time in Zug, already for 3 days, where we have our wonderful startups, a lot of fintechs, of course, and we combine, give our startups access to accelerators, to founders, and try to connect the bot. So that's why we are here. We had 2 wonderful days. For the last 2 days, for the startup sprint, we will see today on the pitch session, on the live pitch session, wonderful startups who would like to expand to the US. So stay thrilled. And now I'm happy to hand over to Alex.
Thank you, Ulrike. Actually, Ulrike, also for you, it was actually a pleasure. Thank you for also organizing with us here this great event and also the sprint. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. So, who has been to Miami? Wow, so many. Actually, we have a DJ outside, guys. I want to see some moves later, right? But you have to stick with us first. We have also like a great guest here from Miami. You will see them on stage. We have also from Florida Enterprise, Alexander Bootman here with us. So also if you're interested in Florida, what's going on there, how to make it in Florida, you can also speak to Alexander. James, you met. Joanna, of course, thank you for coming. You just flew in from London just to come here and also representing Miami. Also Carly, she's a long-time friend already since the beginning of this program. We actually met in person last year in December, where we had our first event in Miami, which was great, at the Solana space. That's why I'm wearing a Solana shirt, which was a great venue, and I love Winwood. It was really amazing. So yeah, today I just walk you through a little bit what's going on. Obviously, we're over time already. So panel discussions coming up, which is, I think, setting the tone and the stage a little bit, what's going on in Web3 in Berlin, what's going on in Web3 in Miami, obviously. And Web3 is an umbrella term, of course. Because I'm not a native Web3 guy from the beginning, I was struggling, what is DeFi, Web3, crypto, and how does it come together? So maybe we can get some light into that as well. But of course, we're the Berlin Finance Initiative, so we like to talk a little bit about DeFi. Also, we have Christopher here, who's talking a little bit about his startup or scale-up already. It's amazing that you're here. So yeah, glad that you're here, and stick around. Gonna have like a little bit of a party later on with drinks and yeah, and mingle also with our startups, who has been the last 2 days with us, like, yeah, in the room, yeah, together, really jungling through like USA, and also together with Cassandra from WeGrow, an expansion agency from Amsterdam, who helped us out there. So if you have questions regarding expansion, also approach Cassandra later on. All right, so FinTech Leaders, it's a program, as Achim mentioned, from the city of Berlin. And we are super happy to have you also in our network. If you ever think of going to the US, and somehow we might have resources for you. If you're FinTech, much better. If you're a tech, also great. If you're like a Berlin startup, amazing as well. So we take everyone. We are open-minded. We are an open city, right? Yes. Okay, so great. And you always see like the pages up there, because I took the wrong software, and there's 100 saying the slides until 100. So don't worry, these are the slides of the decks from the startups. So we are not skipping through hundreds of slides. We do in the end, but I'm not doing this. So what we do, yeah, in this program, we connect USA with Berlin, obviously, and we figure out from the beginning our fintech hubs in USA, Miami. We learn about it today. Atlanta is actually a hidden champion in payment processing, which was really interesting to us. 70% of the US transaction goes over or via this marketplace in Atlanta. It's amazing. And New York is New York, of course, and San Francisco, as Achim told us before, it's actually our next stop on the agenda. We've been to New York, Atlanta, Miami. These are some impressions we had, like in the Solana space. We had fun. We had some dancing going on. So let's see how Berlin is doing, yeah, in dancing. And the next stop will be San Francisco. So as Achim told us already, if you scale up and matured and really want to get to know a little bit the market in San Francisco and what's going on there with Silicon Valley Bank and stuff, come with us, yeah? Approach us and we'll figure it out. All right, so let's get to like the first highlight of today, the panel discussion. So I would like to invite all the panelists on stage. Joanna, Carly, please. Nina, Luisa, yeah, clap it up, clap it up. Christopher, and of course our lovely Rebecca, who's taking over the moderation. Thank you so much.
Should I go until?
Yeah, we extend. Yeah.
10 minutes left.
Yeah. You need water? Yeah. Huh?
Nearly all female.
Yeah. See.
balance out last.
Okay, then you have to share a microphone. Then.
Oh, okay.
Feels so far away from you.
There. Yeah.
Are we on? Yeah? No? Yes? All right. Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here and with all of these incredible experts that are joining the Berlin and Miami scene. It is just an honor to have so much knowledge and expertise here. So we're going to squeeze as much out of them as we can in our short time together. I will start with just a brief introduction that we are going to go through a bunch of different ideas on regulatory things and looking at DeFi, FinTech, what the different cities bring to each other, how we can help support each other, et cetera, et cetera. I'm Rebecca. I work for Solana, Super Team DE, and I also co-founded the NFT Club. As a little bit of background, so I'm very much in the Web3 space, but we're here to learn about FinTech especially. So if our panelists can go give a little bit of an introduction about themselves, maybe say what your connection is to Berlin, Miami, and a little bit about yourselves.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm Joanna. I am the COO and a partner at Sfermion. We are an investment manager focused on the immersive internet and the metaverse. We have an NFT fund and also an early stage venture fund, and I'm based in Miami.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carly Howard. I'm a lawyer in the crypto and digital asset space. I have been working with the law firm K&L Gates, which is a global firm. We actually have a large presence in Germany as well as the US, all over the world. However, as of today, I just joined my client's family office, BootDisk, and we invest in the artificial intelligence, deep tech, and crypto space. So it's an interesting day for me to be here talking to you about what's happening in Miami and also in Berlin. I lived here for some years before moving back to Miami in 2021, mostly because of the pandemic, like everyone else who moved to Miami in 2021. There was just so much business in the crypto space there at the time, but I see it kind of moving back over here, so we'll talk more about that.
Congratulations. That's great news.
Very happy.
All right. I'm Nina Siedler. I'm a partner at Möller Luther, a German multidisciplinary firm. So we have auditors, tax advisors, legal. Me personally, I'm a lawyer in the crypto space for I don't know, 8 years now or so, had been involved in forming several associations on national and international level and focus on finance regulatory and governance issues. My relationship to Miami, I actually spent 4 months during my legal clerkship in Miami, which was an amazing time. And unfortunately, I never made it back since then, but yeah, great memories.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm one of the co-founders of Finoa. What's my relationship here to Berlin? So we have our headquarters here in Berlin. We have a second office in Porto. And Finoa is what I think nowadays you can call a qualified custodian, right? I think that term is especially important, has become especially important over the last couple of weeks. But as most of the custodians, we do not only provide custody, but staking, liquidity services, so brokerage/trading on top of that, and really much focus on the institutional segment, so be it VCs, family offices, hedge funds, etc. I spill the secret up front. Our business is 75–80% US or US related. So we are a European company, but yeah, let's say the vast majority of our business is US, and therefore also the US market is of utmost importance for us.
Thank you. So to start off, we're going to address the elephant in the room. With recent banking experiences that we've all had in the last 2 weeks, can we get a show of hands just to see who has been affected by the recent banking failures, potentially? It's actually a few too many, but still it could be worse. So our first question to our panelists is to ask, how can we respond to these different kind of banking failures? And also, what kind of opportunities and challenges does it present to Web3 as well? What are some of the things that Web3 can actually change or develop to make this potentially better?
Yeah, so it's been a crazy couple of weeks. We had Silvergate, SVB and then Signature Bank go down in the US, then most recently Credit Suisse. Silvergate was really kind of the crypto bank in the US, and we were also clients of Silvergate. We had already moved most of our exposure out because there were some kind of post FTX that was, there were some rumors happening already. But it really taught us the importance, and also to our portfolio companies, of diversifying your exposure. So I think that's been a really good lesson to everyone, and also to our portfolio companies to try to find multiple banks for sure, and also at least one bank that's kind of too big to fail. So either Chase or JP Morgan, or in the US, and I'm sure some of the other larger banks in Europe as well. In the crypto space specifically, now that Signature and Silvergate are both out of the picture, those were the two banks that really most served Web3 clients. SVB didn't take digital asset clients at all. And it was mostly kind of just tech and tech, fintech, life sciences, et cetera. So there's a void in the space now for these companies, and I really think that whoever's now willing to take the risk and actually take on these companies is going to be poised to grow, because these industries are going to grow for the next 3, 5, 10 years, and right now they need service providers.
The problem with that is that it's essentially illegal to start a crypto bank in the US right now. Even if it's not illegal, it's just practically impossible because of the regulatory squeeze, which everyone is calling Operation Choke Point. We actually believe there is literally an Operation Choke Point in process from government agencies. But I think it's also important to understand that it's not just retail banking, it's not just individuals going to a bank that accepts crypto, like Revolut or something like that. It's on the custody and the institutional side. There are businesses, hedge funds, traders, all kinds of clearing that needs to happen, and there's no bank in that space. So it really keeps crypto quite small. It quashes it in a way. In some ways, this is good if you're a DeFi believer. Like, you're not really excited about the proposition of institutionals and huge funds being in the space anyway. So there are a lot of people who are pointing out the solution to this is Bitcoin. Oh, if only there was a peer-to-peer decentralized financial alternative for exchanging value, so I think that's kind of what's happening in the US right now. People who are really fighting for digital assets to become something bigger, something maybe like it is in Europe, where it's got a clear framework, and those who are turning back to the DeFi dream.
I always like to say, any problem is part of a new solution. So maybe this gives more reason to think about DeFi. What is DeFi? What is Dino, right? So what is decentralized in name only? And what is true DeFi? And maybe let's create a bit more guidance for the projects out there when they can actually expect to be accepted as DeFi, and thereby, for example, under European future regulation MiCA, being exempted. So I think that is a very important point, and that's also a lesson learned from FTX and those cases that, not everything that labels itself as DeFi is actually DeFi.
We are not going to get that clarity in the US. It's not coming. In fact, it's regulation by enforcement by multiple agencies, especially the SEC. So it exists here. In Europe, you have a lot of clarity. I know there are people who are very critical of MiCA, but to someone looking at MiCA from the US, it's great. It's way more than what we have. We were really hoping that Congress would step in and pass a bill that gives the digital asset space some clarity, but they've really, really dragged their feet on it, and we're not expecting anything to happen this year. I hope I'm wrong about that, but we're not expecting clarity on this, at least until next year, but because of politics, it could be several years. So we're not going to get that clarity. I'm sure we won't.
We don't have it either yet, right? Because currently we only find in the draft meeker the exemption for DeFi without, any explanation what they are actually talking about. And they are very interesting standpoints with regard to what is actually a DeFi and whatnot. So we will, I think, get more clarity over the next 2 years in this regard. However, we accepted that there might actually be something like DeFi at all. And that's already a very positive step. So, and I agree, we had this discussion prior to the panel. We have a little bit more reliance that it's not only, regulation by enforcement. Typically, our German BaFin really is slow but responsive, and you can trust as long as you're in a positive dialogue with them that they will not send out the prosecutors right away.
I mean, it's a very, I could also top on that topic, but I think maybe going back to the Silicon Valley Bank topic, we actually were able to have an account with Silicon Valley Bank as one of the very few crypto companies, but it's Silicon Valley Bank UK. And actually yesterday already, I mean, it's not a secret that as HSBC is not the most crypto-friendly bank. And we got a very interesting questionnaire yesterday already, like what do we really do in crypto? So I also expect that we get our account cut there. No, but like to that story, what we experienced is we have a lot of US customers and we have seen a lot of money flowing out of the US. And I think that's also why Bitcoin pumped a little bit, because people were saying, okay, like, I don't want to have my money with US banks. I also don't want to have it in any stable coin like USDC, which also depegged. So we had lots of customers who were engaging lawyers and talking like, how do we get the money out of the US without triggering like an exit tax and so on and so on. And I think then also with Credit Suisse coming up, the European Union, yes, you said we are slow, but we also still have that stigma of being like a safe haven, right? Now also Switzerland with Credit Suisse is in a couple of problems. So I think you see a lot of money flowing between the different jurisdictions, continents, and also very interesting to discuss further, like how is crypto even evolving in the US? I mean, we saw the Coinbase news yesterday. I wouldn't start a crypto business in the US anymore. And I think what Brian Armstrong says since, I think, 2-3 years, like crypto regulation in the US is actually moving companies offshore. And then we have like things like FTX happening. So really curious to see what's happening on that side of the pond. Yeah.
I have a point, but then I want to hear what you have to say about that, because Joanna invests in Web3 and crypto companies in the US and other places, but our official legal advice is don't start a crypto company in the US. Really. It's very hard. We have so much business right now. Every crypto lawyer is slammed with work, but we are literally advising people not to have any kind of token in the US right now. It's too uncertain, and we can't give our clients certainty about much at all. In fact, I was here at the bar wanting to chit-chat with people and have an iced coffee drink. I've been in Miami, so I instinctively ordered something iced. Anyway, I felt the need to look at my phone because things were happening in the US as this event was starting. It's really a deluge, and we are in triage mode completely.
So we have a very global portfolio. We do invest in companies in the US as well as outside the US, and quite a few in Europe. I agree with Chris and with Carly that it is very hard to start a digital assets business in the US right now. You literally can't find a bank. There are 4 smaller banks that you can go to after Signature and Silvergate were taken out, but you're basically unbanked. It's very hard. That said, I think we do see certainly the teams being based in the U.S. or maybe in Puerto Rico, and then the actual legal entities being set up somewhere else. Our venture fund is also not set up in the U.S. It's set up in the British Virgin Islands for that exact reason, because if you're a U.S.-based investor, oftentimes you can't invest in certain deals. Yeah.
I've done a lot of work in BVI and Caymans. Yep. A lot of work in BVI and Caymans. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that we've just dived right into it to start off with. And we are going to come back to regulations a little bit. But I want to get a little bit of a sense from you. You've answered it, you've touched on it a little bit. But Berlin and Miami, they're very, very different. But there are some similarities in terms of the flavor and the uniqueness that it brings. Also the multiculturality and the startup scene and how Web3 is also developing. So starting with Christopher. I'm moving this way. Give me your perspectives of how you see Berlin and Miami as areas that are also fostering Web3 and startup development, and what is kind of special about that? What's unique about these cities?
I mean, like we saw it before when Alex showed where the initiative went before, right? I think if you compare Miami and Berlin and then compare it with like a city, whatever, like New York, for example, I think those cities live from innovation, they live from startups, because they don't live from, let's say, decades or hundreds of years of industrial companies, right? And I think especially here for Berlin, but I think it's similar in Miami, you don't have a lot of big corporates. Yes, by now they're moving here because they want to be cool, they want to be hip. But in the end, Berlin is a city in which people are creating things. They are really like creative in that sense, innovating things and come up with new ideas. And I think that's also coming from that there is a need to do those things. Plus, on the other hand, also the atmosphere which those cities portray, right? I mean, when we were in Miami in December, you really see how the city vibrates, how the city is active. So it's a completely different vibe. It's a way more open atmosphere, way more creative atmosphere. You see art on all the walls, etc., etc. And I think this ecosystem, this atmosphere also attracts on the one hand side the people who want to create things, but also on the other hand makes people think more and goes beyond, let's say, conventional wisdom. Because if you run through New York, yes, you have skyscraper on the right and on the left side, and it's a very, very, let's say, straightforward way. You go in a city which has its identity built already. Berlin is constantly changing its identity, and that's basically also what I see with Miami in that sense.
Yeah, Berlin is always labeled as poor but sexy. I think that reminds me upon something of a fintech founder back in 2018, I believe, when I was on a panel with a representative of a large German bank and a couple of founders. And that banking representative from Frankfurt said, well, guys, you need to move to Frankfurt because, you know, we're your potential clients and you need to be where your clients are, right? And the founders, they all said, well, thank you very much. We gladly visit Frankfurt every once in a while, no issue with that, but we remain where our community is, right? So we need the coders especially, and the coder community is here in Berlin. And I think that is maybe also a bit similar to what you described in Miami. I don't know, it's so long time ago that I've been there, but I think Berlin really lives upon its vibrant communities that it managed to build first in fashion and music, and then in tech.
Having lived in both places, Berlin and Miami, I see such tremendous opportunity right now to do cross-border business. Berlin is a great place to incubate. If you're a startup and you don't have a lot of cash and you just kind of want to hide out and work on your product and find great talent that's cheaper than the US, this is a great place to be. When it comes time for funding, the US is a great place to be. So I think that with the uncertainty in Web3 in the US right now, and to some extent in the tech community because of what's going on in banking, it's a fabulous idea to build here until you have enough assets, enough cash to pay all the lawyers it's going to take to do business in the U.S. And then you go to the U.S. and you raise funds there. This is what I'm seeing as an opportunity. We were talking last night, Cassandra and I were talking about this. There's a cultural difference. The way that one promotes oneself in Germany is very different from the way we promote ourselves in the U.S. And so in my mind, that's the biggest gap. is knowing how to do business meetings and lunches and talk about yourself and present in a way that looks confident and smart and just appropriate for the different cultures. But I love Berlin. It has a vibe like nowhere else in the world, and Miami is very expensive and a hard place to live if you can't meet that lifestyle. So let's build it here and fund it in the US.
We like that.
To add on to what Carly said, I think Miami and Berlin have a lot to learn from each other. I've only been to Berlin a few times and have loved the city, but one of the things I've noticed just from my few interactions with Germans is that there's this inherent sense of discipline that, you know, Germans are known for their discipline and like really in precision and just taking real pride in their work. Miami is known for moving fast and kind of breaking things. I mean, like James mentioned, 50% of people are not born in Miami, are not born in Miami, and because of that, there's a lot of innovation. In some ways, there are rules, but the rules are looser, and so I think if both Berliners and Miamians can learn from each other in that way, then that's kind of the best of both worlds.
Thank you. And to dig a little bit deeper, I want to hear more about, we're going to touch on the legislation, but in more of a local aspect. So how do you see the different roles of the city governments, and how do they play a role in supporting the growth of profitable businesses in both Miami and Berlin? Starting again with Christopher.
Difficult one. I unfortunately can only speak for Berlin. I think comparing the two cities, but also maybe comparing the two countries, I think in Germany, it's still very, very difficult to start a business, right? Especially since we're not that digital in most of, let's say, the local authorities or administrations. But I think, especially also like if we take a look here, Berlin Finance Initiative, et cetera, there's a lot of stuff happening over the last couple of years from the politics, from the governments, et cetera, because you see that the startup scene, the fintech scene is something which creates jobs, right? But I think compared to other countries, especially in the European Union, like France, also the Nordics, we in Germany have a lot of stuff to do. Especially if it comes to, I mean, like the ESOP, VSOP, so virtual share, employee share program, that's something which is always in discussions. I think it could be way easier. I think, yeah, we are learning, governments are learning. We now have a new mayor here in Berlin, most probably in a couple of weeks, maybe month. So I think we are on the right track, but there's still a lot to go, I would say.
I think we have a great state-owned economic supportive entity with Berlin Partner. However, I think Berlin as a city could be a bit more welcoming, specifically to foreigners. We have a lot of foreigners moving to Berlin, really with their families and kids, and really taking that challenge, and then trying to start a business here, and then learning how cumbersome that is. I, in my practice, saw really many which gave up within a year of time. So maybe we can learn a bit from cities like Munich. As I understand, they have a great welcome policy and really help the newbies in their city around with all the public stuff that you have to do when you form a new entity here in Germany. I think we could do more to support startups.
France has a tech visa that makes it really easy, and I think that a lot of tech goes to Paris because of that. I had heard that Germany was working on that. I don't deal with the immigration office anymore. Are you going to talk about Miami coin? Miami is really supportive of digital assets, Web3 and crypto, however you define these things. And it's not just in name. We did have a little hiccup. Miami had its own coin. It kind of went bust. There's some funny memes out there about it. But it just shows you the level to which Miami is interested in the space and willing to support it. I think that tech in general is welcome there, and the landscape in Miami has changed because of all the wealth that's come to the city from tech, and also the startups that have come to the city from tech. I'm actually happy about it because you used to have to get dressed up to go to any restaurant, and now you can roll into the nicest restaurant in a t-shirt and sneakers and still get a table. So I'm happy with what's going on in Miami with the tech scene.
Certainly. I think there are probably more over the past few years, lots of really great investors who have come to Miami. We still need more great operators, though. So any German companies, any Berliners want to come move to Miami and grow your businesses there, please do. I think Miami Coin is an example of kind of moving fast and breaking things. It was an experiment. It didn't work. It was maybe ill-advised to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. And as James mentioned, Miami itself has a ton of events just around tech, whether it's conferences. BTC Miami is arguably one of the largest crypto events globally. It's in April every year. We have Miami NFT Week coming up in a couple of weeks. There's a broader tech event called Miami Tech Week that's also in mid-April. So that's more kind of fintech, not just digital assets, and sponsored by kind of some of the prominent funds in Miami. So it's a great place if you want to build there.
I also hear that the mayor of Miami is also relatively pro-crypto, yes?
Yeah, that's the whole Miami Coin deal. Yeah. He's very pro-tech, just pro-tech, and he's always around the city, welcoming people, meeting with investment funds. Any new fund that comes to town, he's in their offices welcoming them. So yeah, tech is welcome there.
Yeah, and the reason for that is really because Miami historically has been a hub for leisure and hospitality, right? It kind of just used to be a vacation spot that you would go to during spring break or for bachelor parties or something like that. And in order for Miami to grow, it really has to. It's well, so hopefully, now we want it to be known for more than just spring break, and for Miami to grow, it needs to bring in these new industries, and with the advent of remote work, it's become so much easier to bring tech workers in.
It's so interesting to hear that there's such a drastic contrast between the local environments that are really supportive and really pro-crypto versus the larger regulatory structures in the countries, which kind of brings us back to more of the regulatory frameworks. So how do you see the different key differences in these regulatory frameworks in fintech and Web3 in the US and Europe, and how do these differences impact the industry as well? Starting with Christopher.
Although I'm not a lawyer, I have to start with that question. I think Nina said in the beginning already, right? So there's a different approach in terms of regulation. And Web3 crypto is one very good example. Here in Germany, we have, let me take the example of the qualified custodian, right? So we here in Germany have since mid of 2019, basically all the requirements you have to fulfill to become a qualified custodian. And that was basically put into what we call like a crypto custody license here in Germany. And everybody who was in that business had to comply to those rules from January 2020 on. And for us, being a custodian, it was, let's say, not easy, but we knew what we had to comply to, and we knew what we were allowed to do. We knew where basically the barriers were, etc., etc. And yes, we are slow in Germany. We are diligent in Germany. But in the end, we have those frameworks which make it easy to plan. In the US, on the other hand, and I see it from competitors, but also if we talk to customers, the regulators are not as interactive as they are here in Germany or in Europe in general. And I mean, the best example, what we have been seeing yesterday with Coinbase, I read the Coinbase statement and can just encourage everybody to read it here. They basically were describing how they have been trying to talk to the SEC for years, etc., etc. And then they just basically got that Wells notice yesterday. And I think that says a lot on that example, how the different regulators are thinking. But it's also a mindset between Europe, Germany, and the US. I remember once speaking to a VC investor, and I asked him, like, okay, how do you deal with uncertainty on the regulatory side in the US? And he basically said, you raise so much money, you build the business so fast, and then you raise more money that you can pay the fine. And I think that doesn't happen here in Germany, right? Because nobody would give you money if they knew that you would be like in a shady, let's call it a gray area. And I think it's like the regulation also kind of mirrors the two different approaches. Carly, you said Joanna, you said we are disciplined. Yes, we are disciplined. We also take the law more serious than the US. And that from the operator side, but also on the regulator side.
Yeah, so
Can I say something really quickly? I'm kind of on a high horse, as they say, about this. The largest fines paid in finance are by large institutions, by banks, including Deutsche Bank. So I think, yeah. So I think it's a long-standing practice to know that you're going to be sued, to know that you're going to have fines, and to just build that into your business model. I'm not advocating that. It's just not something startups have to do. So it's really a shame that's what's going on. You absolutely nailed it.
no problem. Yeah, I think we in Germany had been always, I like to say, over diligence with regard to crypto. So Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are financial instruments for more than 10 years in Germany already. We introduced by 2020 the license requirements for basically any type of service you can think of surrounding crypto. The crypto custody that you mentioned is one of those. And we're basically now bringing that to Europe with MiCA. That's now it has been an obstacle for Germany for a long time that we are so strict with crypto, but now it turns around because those entities having already a license under German law will get a fast track under MiCA for the EU-wide licenses, and that drives currently a couple of projects into Germany to actually hop on that fast track.
Well, so we are a fund, and we are about to become a registered investment advisor in the US. So a little bit different from being a business and somewhat different laws. There's definitely a lot regarding custody and specifically qualified custody that we have to comply with. The way that we've kind of taken a stance is really to be as conservative as possible, actually, specifically regarding the custody piece. We started as one of the first NFT funds, if not the first NFT fund. And as you guys can imagine, NFTs are very new. It is a very also relatively small asset class to custody versus just regular large tokens, large cap tokens. Instead of kind of waiting for the regulators to engage with us, we have been actively working with a lot of the big companies in the space and big custodians, US-based custodians, to come up with a solution that would work for both us and them.
Kudos. That's great. I'll just clarify on the US custody piece. I think about a month ago, the SEC dropped proposed custody rules that affect not just crypto, but all custody, all banking. They're very strict. The industry as a whole is unclear how to administer the proposed rules, including whether holding artwork or real estate. There's certain real estate that would now be considered custody that has never been considered custodied before. So we believe that the SEC did this so that they're starting from a point where they know no one will like these rules, and then they can bargain themselves down, we think. But I think there's another 30 days or so before a new draft would come out. I don't think that the proposed rules will be accepted as they are, but it's affecting crypto more than any other asset from my point of view. But this is also interesting because SEC has been ruling by enforcement in the crypto space, but yet they dropped these proposed rules with a 60-day comment period when it's custody that affects non-crypto assets as well. So we know they can do this. They're just not doing it for us.
And maybe if I may make some advertisement for some work that is done within UNIDROIT, which is like the United Nations legal arm. For 3 years, there's a working group on digital assets and private law, and I think this is really of utmost importance because it turns to the questions, what is ownership in a digital asset? Right? How do I transfer ownership? Is there something like acquisition in good faith in digital assets? And how does that work? And they came up with a proposal for a model law, which they will resolve upon in May. I was part of that working group during the past 3 years, and we just had our last final meeting in Rome last week. And it would be really great if we all could promote that the states across the globe adopt these model principles in a similar fashion, because then we can actually work on a cross and multi-jurisdictional basis together. And I always said, you know, this had been missed, right? We had only drawn up financial regulation stuff, licensing questions and so forth. But nobody had really turned into those simple private law questions, right? So I think that's really important that this is happening now.
Absolutely, thank you. Unfortunately, we're starting to get to the last minutes of our amazing panel. I could easily squeeze your brains for all this incredible information for hours, but as one last two-part question, firstly, what are the changes that we need to see? What kind of regulations would you put at the top of that priority list? And also, what are you excited to see happen in the next near future?
Maybe second question first. I think I said the same answer in Miami already. I think what I'm most excited about is like the basically the combination of DeFi and regulation. And I'm not necessarily talking about, let's say, we need new custody rules or whatever, but if I think about like decentralized exchanges, how can they get permissioned? If I talk about Aave, Arc, etc., etc. So I think this whole aspect of how can you use the technology, but have that technology in like a regulated framework. What would I wish for in terms of regulation? I think crypto by now is again like the one where everybody can hit at. It's similar like in 2018, 2019, and I think what you see is a concentrated attack on crypto around the world, especially coming from the US. I mean, it's no surprise that on one day they basically issue like 2 notices, and they did the same like with Signature Bank, etc., etc. So I think we just have to build out of that and win with innovation. Because in the end, like, it's very difficult to win against governments, regulators with words or in court. I mean, Coinbase might be trying that, yeah, but they are the only, let's be honest, they are the only company worldwide who has the financial resources to go into court. So I think in the end, what I would wish from the regulatory side is like, they should listen more and try to understand instead of just forbid or threaten. From the builder side, operator side, our only chance is to build and basically develop new solutions because we always need to be faster than the regulator. I'm also not advocating to do something illegal, but we have to find new creative ways how we can make crypto, Web3 more mainstream or better in general.
if I could wish for something, then it would be that we simplify things. I think regulation is overwhelming for most of the startups, and that's really getting a problem now. I always tend to say we are a really, old society, and we gotten lazy in keeping things simple. We just put always regulation atop. We forget about, cleaning up beneath. The second thing I would really wish for is that enforcement actually turns against scammers across the globe, because I think that really makes it really difficult for the serious startups in that area to get out of that shady, dirty viewpoint from a lot of people and newspapers out there. So I think there's a structural deficit from the states in actually following bad actors.
What do we need more of? We need to work together, whether it's model rules or political campaigns or our lobbying groups. Our lobbying groups for crypto are pretty competitive against each other, really. We need to work together. Other industries put together best practices and policies. We're just really missing that in the crypto space, and I have some ideas why, but we've got to do it now. What am I excited about? UX, usability. I think that that's absolutely essential for crypto to make it through this next cycle, especially with what's going on in regulation. It's got to be easy for people to use digital assets. They've got to want to do it, and we need to make it user-friendly so there's a larger user base.
I think what we need more of is precedent in the US. We need cases that delineate what the boundaries are, whether the boundaries are very small or whether it's very large. But just as long as they're defined, then people can know how much space they're actually playing in. So, and right now, I don't see a major catalyst for there to be real institutional money into the space, whether it's to funds, whether it's to projects, without there being more precedent as to, like, what can you actually do in this space in the US? What am I most excited about? I'm most excited about similar to UX for sure, and also I guess digital assets just not being a novelty anymore. I think in the last couple of years, the fact that something wasn't an NFT had this kind of novelty premium to it, and therefore people saw it as an item for speculation. But more recently, we've seen more projects where people don't really know this thing is an NFT. It's just a digital collectible, or a thing that you just buy and it's fun and it's a piece of art, but it actually has, it's running on kind of digital, distributed ledger rails, and that's all happening in the background. So onboarding more people as well.
Thank you so much. And if I were to answer the question, I would say we need more people like you that are educated, kind, willing to put in the time and effort to make these changes happen, because if the regulatory side isn't there, then it makes everything absolutely very, very difficult. And so can we get a huge, huge round of applause for these amazing panelists? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Actually, thank you for all the great insights. Thank you, Rebecca, for taking care of it. I think this is a body bear. It's a nice.
This is my first bear.
Yeah, it's your first bear. Well, I don't want to get one, actually. Yeah, thank you. So it comes with the glass, so I'll give it later. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks again. So yeah, so let's lose it up a little bit. I feel like we blocked actually that side, all right, with the sofa and the equipment there. So if you want to have a seat, there's plenty of seats here still, and also from the back. So don't worry. You don't disturb anyone right now. The cameras are on me, I guess. Let's see. So yeah, next up, we actually have fantastic startups right now here. 7 startups who are pitching in 5 minutes maximum, hopefully. and 3 minutes of Q&A. So I would like to ask Michael, Thomas, Joanna also to join me here. Victoria, where's Victoria? I haven't seen her yet. Yeah, there, thanks. Come up here. We have a nice sofa here. Make it cozy a little bit. And a big round of applause for our investors. So I'm just giving you the mics. Da-da-da. And I pull up the slide, so let me go back here. So those are the amazing people here in the front row. So one more. Yeah, 4. It's getting cozy here, right? Yeah, great. So thanks for being here and also challenge a little bit the startups in the next couple of, in another hour, and then we dance, right? Maybe we go from top to bottom. Joanna, people heard about you, but what do you invest in? What is your specialty?
Sure. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. So Sfermion, we, as mentioned before, we invest in the metaverse and NFTs. So we have one fund that is an NFT fund, and then another is an early stage venture fund where we're investing in immersive internet technologies, mostly Web3. And prior to this, I was actually an allocator for the Dutch pension funds, investing in different hedge funds strategies.
Okay.
Thanks. So clap it up for Joanna.
Guys say 2 things at once. Not
Victoria.
Okay, hi, this is working. Hi, people. My name is Victoria. I'm the co-founder of the W3 Fund. We're a Berlin-based investment fund, also investing in NFTs. We say digital assets because it sounds better right now. And also early-stage startups in pre-seed and seed phases. And I think what also makes us a little bit more special is that we also invest in a lot of in events, community conferences. We do a lot of media stuff, trying to explain to the outside world what's actually going on, and attracting startups, but also LPs on that side. So I think a couple of people from Berlin know what we're doing because we're doing a lot of events. And something very, very new that we're doing, we're building up a co-working and community space in Berlin, not far away from here, I just came from here, and kind of matching not only Web3 natives, but also brands and politicians and partners, everyone who wants to be involved.
Great. Actually, clap it up for Victoria. Actually, you came up with a landscape, right, of all the Web3 companies in Berlin. It's got in Germany, but I used it actually in Miami because I had a talk of how's Web3 in Berlin, and I just took your resources, so it's great. Also, thank you for that. So, Michael.
Hi. First of all, whoever made the slides, thanks for going through the pain of finding out how to put the dots on my E and my I.
Copy paste.
Yes. So I'm a partner at Redstone. We invest across all kinds of verticals in Europe. Personally, I focus on fintech. And we are, for example, invested in Konto, in Finanzguru, Liquid. Also co-invested with Deutsche Bank. So yeah.
Great to have you here. Clap it up for Michael. Hope I spelled it right? Perfect. Thomas.
I'm just going to quickly look into the group. So Thomas from Deutsche Bank, large European bank. What we're looking to do is make strategic investments into different companies. They offer services that we leverage or that we can position alongside of our proposition. And digital asset is one of the themes that we're also investing in.
That's great. Thanks. Also, clap it up. The beer and the wine is missing here, I feel like, but we get there. So before that, thanks for having you. So you are just invited to give your feedback, for your perspective. We have a colorful mix of 7 startups from really early stage, mid stage, and what they have in common is really the clicker that we spent the last 2 days at CV Labs with Ulrike as well. They were all eager to know a little bit more US. Some of them already tapping a foot into the market. but some of them are really interested in the US expansion in the next 2 or 3 years. So it's a colorful mix, Web3, FinTech, the consultancy is here as well. So it will be a fun surprising ride, so also for me. And yeah, it would be really great also to hear your feedback and also mingling with the startups later on after this session, yeah? So let's get into it. Clap it up for Selina.
Do you have a clip on, or do I go with the laptop?
You have to stay close here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, hi, I'm Selina, co-founder and CEO of Silba, and we bring fluidity to commodity with a software for gold buyers. So I'm basically bringing you safe haven now after this talk of Web3, right? So what does David do? He operates a gold buying business with solid online presence, and he recognizes, looking at the demographic change, that more and more people navigate online, but he stands in front of the problem that the web service is elaborate and keeps him from his daily business, and also the traffic is really expensive for him and just drops off. So we are handling two ends of one problem. This is Eric, he's 35 years old, and he sells gold after his lovely grandmother died, unfortunately. And he sits down on the table and he navigates online to seek selling opportunities. So this is his journey and how he drops off to the offline space. He has his first pain point with the value. He doesn't know it. He's unsure about the type of alloy and the weight, and he is standing in front of the question what shipping method to use. He does not get any help or feedback in the web space, so he drops off to the dodgy shop where the price is really low, and he ends up traveling the city to find a good shop with a good price point. 99% of customers, we found that out in our study time frame directly at the market, are looking for the value online. 98% of customers decide to interact with a chatbot instead of calling to get help and feedback. What does our software do for David? We remember that's the gold buyer. We have a subject-specific AI for this market. It's a chatbot with an interactive query, a photo recognition software. We calculate the probability if this is gold or not, and we place a binding offer. We are able to position down payments, and we organize the shipping method for both David and Eric, so both parties can basically just enjoy the value of selling and buying gold. We start with small businesses with a couple of employees as testing phase for the integration of our software, and we then basically go up the ladder to the big names like Degussa, Exchange AG, and then of course we want to expand internationally. We differ in a way that we have a complete digital integrated system for these gold buyers, and we place a binding offer beforehand. Degussa already does that, but they still have an analog and static form. The business model, we take 1% of revenue share, and also we already sell the customer service itself, and then we take another additional 1% for our down payment fee. It's not a secret, gold market is a big number, yeah, it's $12 trillion global gold market capitalization and further revenue with the other precious metals. So the team, that's me. I have a background in the global jewelry industry. I've been to India where I've managed workers of 6 different departments, and I have my co-founder on board, Philip, who has his PhD in machine learning and robotics from the ETH Zurich. The roadmap, we bootstrap till now. We are collecting pre-seed now, and in 2026 we will be profitable. We are raising at least 500K this year. This is for digitalization, scaling ground zero Germany, and iteration approach. So I can only advise you to join us in disrupting the gold market, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Then I start.
tech people help
Hello,
us.
hello. I think it's working.
Yes.
I think we spoke last year, right?
Yeah.
During Gründerszene Spätschicht. So it's great to see how you have developed a bit. So it's interesting.
Right.
I think what would be interesting to know is how exactly you make the process more transparent for your persona that's working with you as a to sell the gold.
Yeah, references, right.
No, just how me as a customer, how do I know that if I go through you, that it's going to be safe and that I get the best price?
Right. So our software is integrated in the websites of gold buyers, and we don't really have something to do with the price point of the gold buying business. So we are just a B2B SaaS company handling the transactions for them. So we don't decide what's the price point. And in the end, of course, we want to be spread in the whole market so that any customer goes through our system.
And do you offer any kind, or do you plan to offer any kind of support to the customers on top?
I mean, I have more ideas for this market, if you mean that. But yeah, we are supporting them with the shipping method, with value, and like the whole process we basically take over for them, because right now they really have to go, like I explained in the problem slide, ask themselves, okay, how am I going to about selling this gold right now? And that's what we're taking over for them, yes.
What are some of the quality checks that are then in place? Could you touch on that one?
So we are just a software company. We just sell software to gold buyers, and we don't test gold.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Also feel free to approach her afterwards. Huh? Great. Do you have gold here with you? Do you have gold here? Okay. All right. I use your chatbot.
Thank you. Great, yeah. Thank you very much, Alex, also for inviting me, and thank you also for coming. Yeah, my name is René Petrevsky. I'm the business manager at Star Protocol. Our founder couldn't be here today because he's on another conference at another side of the planet. We know that metaverses and games are bubbling up here and there and everywhere. Everyone is building their cool little world. Yeah, we don't need to jump into the crazy numbers there, but they build metaverses, and where is the street that connects everything, right? How can I jump from one world into the other with my assets that I can wear, that I can own, that I can play with? There's no infrastructure, and this is what we basically do. Because right now, there's no usability of assets, right? You have these bunch of assets, NFTs, collectibles, even 3D assets. You own a bunch of stuff, right? And you want to digitally self-express yourself, right? Especially in the Gen Z era. This is what we are enabling. Our vision is also that all these metaverses and games will merge into a multiverse. And this multiverse, that needs kind of an infrastructure, a layer of like standardization. And this is what we also focus on, how to secure your assets as an owner, and to truly like swift and move in those worlds with your assets that you own and you bought and you kind of also want to show, right? And how is this possible? So we have 3 different participants in our ecosystem. So we have the owner, that's basically the initiator, that owns an asset or an NFT or a collectible and wants to use it now in the metaverse or game. Then we have the tailor who actually makes it possible. This is the 3D artist that creates the asset from scratch, exactly tailoring it to the specific metaverse rules and requirements. And then, of course, the environment, that's the metaverse, the game, the virtual platform. I don't know if you know Decentraland, Sandbox, that are the biggest ones. And everything that is connected with in this ecosystem is the token, the style token, that will also launch next month, 420, a little bit of a meme there. And this is just a utility token to hold it so you can participate in the ecosystem. Here's just a small overview of what we actually built so far. Actually, we have Harmony and Arbitrum also as chains now on board that we are compatible with, actually also bit of a US reference there. Our partner Yaku is actually US based, and they are quite happy to be on board with us because they feel the need that interoperability is the next thing, especially when it comes to gaming and immersive experiences. Yeah, and then some of our past projects, I don't know if you know, but these OGs like Clonexes and Bored Apes, we bridged those into different environments, Decentraland, voxels, server space, whatever is live already, and also other cool things like CryptoPunks, if you know. And of course now sports teams are coming to us, or like brands that want to have like a digital brand awareness, and this is also what we built. And then, of course, fashion, right? I think fashion and gaming are the two pillars that actually drive this Web3 into like this era of mass adoption. And we collab with different fashion designers around the world. Lastly, we were at the London Fashion Week. Quickly, to go over the tokenomics, just for the launch, we launched 42% to the public to list on several centralized exchanges to trade there, so that people can, of course, buy the token and participate in the ecosystem. Then quickly over the team, we have I can probably say a really cool team, a very experienced team, and a large advisory board. For example, Hamza Salem, our CTO, is very deep in this crypto space, in the tech stuff. He also has a YouTube channel if you want to look him up. He really goes in depth into what we can offer and what we do. And he actually is building a very, very cutting edge technology where you, as the owner, have complete secure assets that can't be breached from any marketplace. So very good to know there. And at the end, of course, this is specifically just for our founder there, but we can also chat, and I can give you my LinkedIn or whatever. Yeah, and these are also like a bit of a secret for the upcoming projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have time for questions, but. Sure.
Renee, thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
I love what you guys are building, and certainly agree that interoperability is key to making the metaverse or multiverse, whatever you want to call it, possible.
Right.
We've also seen a lot of other companies who are trying to build things in this space, so interoperable protocols or companies. What are you guys doing to really build a moat around what you're doing? How are you making sure that your product and your protocol is defensible in the future?
Well, first, we have a lot of chains. I don't really see that many competitors that have these chains already onboarded and compatible with. And I don't know if you know Ready Player Me. That's maybe one thing that might be stuck, because they offer avatars there, but they have like standardized avatars, right? You can't really use but that's what we call style protocol. You can really get your own style into the different worlds. So you're not bind to any standards that you can just slide it there to make it thicker, or to make it look strong, or like green and red, right? We really start from scratch, and we create the 3D assets specifically for the owner, specifically for the customer, that you can use already. So you have like the cool thing also is that you have the original NFT that never gets touched, right? And we create the 3D derivative NFT that is minted on the Metaverse marketplace there, where you can also sell it. So it's, this whole ecosystem then enables you also to get your NFT out there, right? In any way, shape, or form. Thank you for the question.
I had a second question. I think you've already touched it a little bit, but because
Right.
I was wondering, like, is there any boundary in terms of like copyrights? Because I've just seen that there was a Clonex, and they are tied to Nike's brand. So if you just take it and then put it as a derivative on other chains, does it Like, is it allowed, or how do you handle these things?
Yeah, that's a good point. Many NFT collections, they offer the owners their IP rights, right? So when you buy an NFT, you already have the IP rights for yourself, and then you can basically do what you are free to do, which I like, because that's Web3, right? You can really do what you want, Oh, yeah, I thought so, but yeah, that's definitely a good point, and I think we will have a lot of discussions there in the future too, because IP rights are very delicate, but yet in the Web3 you need to kind of move around there a little bit more, we surely enable that, but we always verify that this is actually the NFT, right? And so we don't want to be like copycats that just have like bunch of like copies of the true CloneX. Then. Great. Thank you.
That's great. So Luca, come up. I want to try the click. It's working. Huh? You can click also if you want to. Feel free, take a seat.
Thanks.
It's your stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luca, and I am CEO, co-founder at Algorithmica. I don't know how many of you know that banks, they have to fund themselves when they want to originate new loans. So if you have a mortgage, that money came from somewhere else, not from the bank itself, right? So that's the principle of how banking works. And you know that banks nowadays need a lot of capital, because in the future we will have to transition to a low carbon economy. And in Europe specifically, we tend to go to banks, and also small medium enterprise go to banks if they need money for CapEx, which is capital expenditure. So we are trying to help smaller banks like the Sparkasse in Germany or Banca Popolare in Italy to access capital markets like the big guys are doing right now. So it's very technical, so let me try to explain a bit more. When a bank wants to fund themselves, they go to capital markets, they structure a transaction with an investor. The investor can be public, can be a private investor, but essentially is a risk-sharing transaction. So the bank sell the risk to the investor pay for the risk and gets also the return. What we are doing is we are basically building an infrastructure to enabling this risk-sharing more effectively, more fast, right? And given that it's a very private market, every time a new bank enters the market and the investor wants to analyze the portfolio, it takes a lot of time for the investor, which might be, an hedge fund in London, can be also the EIF, the European Investment Fund in Luxembourg, can be a global pension fund in Canada, right? Can be anybody. But if they want to invest in the Sparkasse of Berlin, they really have to slice and dice the portfolio. They have to build a model. They have to forecast expected losses, because basically that's what is really important. And this takes time. Especially if you don't have the data, you have to look for the data, and this is even more complicated. So what we are doing is that we are building a solution which combines data from 250 European banks in one platform. And we also unified the data model, which means that regardless whether the Sparkasse is built on a custom core banking system and Banca Popolare di Bari is built on another core banking system, we unify in them so that the investor can basically compare one with the other and take a decision. And we cover different asset classes, ranging from small, medium enterprise loan portfolios to consumer lending, residential mortgages, credit cards, and leasing. So most of the market, if you look from that way. The benefits for the investor is speed, accuracy, and convenience. They can look at more transactions. Imagine that if you are an investor, you have 2 weeks to due diligence a transaction before investing. So in 2 weeks, with our solution, you can look at much more transaction than without it. And the pricing is more accurate because we give you exactly the expected and unexpected losses for that transaction. So, for example, if portfolio of loans is collateralized by real estate assets, and those assets are in Berlin, right? And we can basically say in 3 years from now, if one of the loan goes into default, what's going to be the expected losses, given that there is a specific collateral which will be sold at a specific price, given the real estate market condition in Berlin. So this is the concept basically. The market is huge. We have more than 4 trillion issuance every year. And this is all in the public market. The private is probably as big as the private, as big as the public. And our customers are insurance companies and specialized fund managers. There is a list on the left. The model that we are planning is software as a service and transaction fee. We are planned to be profitable in about 3 years. We are a team of 4 people, myself, Luca, I'm the economist, then there is Calogero, who is the CTO, Eko and Sandra. Eko is the entrepreneur with lots of experience, serial startups, and Sandra is a lawyer with lots of experience in fintech as well. Our ask is 1.4 million. We are pre-seed, pre-revenue, and we need this money to finalize the product and go to the market and start building pipeline. Thank you.
Hope it works. Yes. So I'm not sure if I fully got it in 7 minutes, but I have not understood what kind of product then those insurers are buying. Is it a loan or that's on the bank's balance sheet, or is it completely off? Because I didn't get it. Or
yeah, it technically is a synthetic securitization. So there is no transfer of assets. The asset stays in the balance sheet of the bank, but there is a contract, it's an insurance contract with the bank. So you as investor, you are the insurance seller, and the bank is the insurance buyer. So if something goes wrong on the bank side, the investor has to pay because you are giving this insurance to the bank. And by doing so, by insuring the credit risk, the bank can relieve capital. And when the bank releases capital, they can originate new loans, and then they can fund the transition to whatever. But in our case, nowadays we need money for the climate transition.
And do you think it's going to be more difficult to bring your products to the banks or to the investors?
We need to onboard banks first before selling the product to investors. That's the short answer. But if you want to talk more about this, more than happy to discuss. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
What are some of the key milestones for you with 1.4 million?
The first key milestone is to build a lead generation campaign. So we need to really get more inbound because it's very complicated to onboard customer. It takes ages. You have to go to conferences and you have to really, that's the first milestone. The second milestone is to reach 5 trials access. We have already 2. So we have 2 investors that are using the platform. We need to reach 5. And then we want to onboard the first client. Yeah, that's the main milestone. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. How's your ankle?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, actually he twisted his ankle. Yeah, but I like your seated style here. Yeah, I really like that. So, from Luca to Leonardo, right?
Thank you. Yeah, hi. My name is Leonardo, and I'm from Freispace. We're leaving the fin side of the of today a little bit and going more to the tech side. I worked as a line producer in the film industry. What that means is I manage time, money, and people. And one part that I had to manage as well was the post-production. So the whole editing and color correction and sound, etc. And all of that in our company was a little bit chaotic. Just because we didn't have a proper way of scheduling everything. We used Excel spreadsheets in the end. And as in, this is weird. So in most companies, in about 80%, they still use Excel, even the big ones like Constantine Entertainment. And in the other companies that have some software, they have really outdated user interfaces. The software is about 20 years old, it looks 30 years old, and it just doesn't work for creatives. And I thought, well, this is not good. And it really leads to a few problems. So it leads to a lot of frustration, evidently, with people who are creatives and look at tables and just think, okay, I don't want to use that. It leads to a lot of lost time because of phone calls to check the status and to ask, you know, what's my schedule at? Can I extend for a day next week? In which room am I in? Like those little things where you call someone up and it just takes up 15 minutes of two people's time. And that equates to lost money, basically, because those people obviously get salaries and that's time that is not spent on the projects, but instead just asking stupid questions that, you know, could have been looked up. And it also leads to a lot of late deliveries because just overbooking happens, you don't have a clear overview of what's happening, and late deliveries can incur fees, and those can be quite a lot as well, depending on your customer. So we built something. So we have this as an online solution. It works on any device, which is new as well for people who use Excel. Try to use it on a mobile phone. That doesn't really work. It's live, so if I do a change like on Google Docs or something, everyone sees it live. It's easy to use, it's really intuitive, it's just drag and drop basically, and it really works for creatives, and it gives you overviews clearly at the beginning, what is happening when and where, and even how much does it actually cost me. So it is sold as a software as a service solution. We have different plans depending on the company size. And we're really targeting at production companies who have in-house post-production, but also post-production providers, so companies who offer those services for post-production, and VFX companies as well. When I talk about we and us, that's me, who did some documentaries, did a few Netflix originals. You might know Dig Deeper if you're in Germany. I was the line producer on that. And my co-founder is Alex, who is a Microsoft certified professional and a senior web developer and is doing the product side. And we are glad to be supported by 2 accelerator programs. At the moment, we're completely self-funded. So our market slide might not look that interesting right now. We are in Germany. The market is quite small in Germany. These are really conservative numbers, just because on VFX companies, I don't have accurate numbers, so these are just production companies. And we know the German market is limited, which is why we are looking at Great Britain, which is much bigger, and then also the States, evidently, where there is a lot of production going on. And in the future, just to give you an outlook, we will expand from the media sector to other industries as well. For example, laboratories, which have kind of similar requirements where they have rooms, they have assets like machines and staff they need to manage, and it's a similar space. So we are pre-seed now. We are completely self-funded. We have a first paying customer, which is Bildergarten Entertainment, and they produce The Voice of Germany with our software right now. We have a fully working application. We are developing it further, so every month we have one big feature coming in, and we're doing that really closely with the industry. We have the trademark registered, and we have quite a lot of big clients in Germany who are testing it right now. So we are raising 400K to build the product further, to develop the team behind it, so we have more developers on it, but also to build the marketing and sales team to actually go forward. So that's it. Many thanks, and I look forward to your questions.
Hello. Okay. Hi. First of all, thank you very much. The first thought that I actually had is like, first of all, what is the biggest challenge right now for you? Because just like looking at other industries and industries I've worked in before, everyone has like their internal setup and it works for them as for now. And usually it's very, very difficult to like move companies from one setup to another, even though it makes sense and they are totally like exhausted with what they have. So I was just wondering, like, how do you approach them, and how do you really make them try something new? Either way, they're already used to something that is working for them, especially like in bigger companies, and if other also suppliers are involved in this infrastructure.
Yeah. So our approach to the market right now is that we are talking to, for example, the German Producers Alliance, where we are a part of. So we have direct access to decision makers in those bigger companies. The sales cycles are difficult because we are changing workflows. So that is a challenge. But those people who test the software are immediately convinced, just because, you know, no more Excel and no more outdated software, which is just dreadful to use. So that works well. Afterwards, the rollout is a bit more complicated, especially in those bigger companies like the Bavaria, because they have multiple smaller entities and all the entities should get it. So that's mainly the challenge right now. We are in the process of building an open API, so you can actually add it to your own workflows. And we have a software distributor as well, which we onboarded this month, which is in the space, so Videocation, they are called, and they advise those big companies as well. So we are attacking the market from different angles, and yeah, that's the way how we go about it.
I totally get the pain, because actually my girlfriend, she's a producer. So. But I was wondering, like, focusing only on the post-production, isn't it, let's say, too limited for now? I think also you have these media agencies that will have pre- and post-production tooling. I think there's also tooling out there, such as, I think it's called Team Leader. Yeah, what is your view on that in terms of your positioning there?
So we start where I know that the problem is the biggest, because just the tools we use are really outdated. We are obviously expanding our feature set. One of the features we want to build with the pre-seed money is actually the whole collaboration. So assigning tasks to people, time tracking in there as well. So the whole kind of side that you also need for working on bigger projects together. And that will be an additional module which we will add on top for those companies who want it, and that will make it also more attractive to then enter other phases of production. So that's what we will be doing with little modules that we put on top.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We might have a customer there. Nino, are you a customer? Yeah, see, perfect, we sold. Great, thank you so much. So, Sui, yeah, here we go. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Okay, hi everyone, my name is Zui, and before I start my pitch, I'm gonna start with asking you a few questions, and I'm really serious about the first one, really. Who knows what Web3 is? Yeah, be confident, okay. Second question, and be honest, who is not working in Web3 yet? Okay. And we go even further, who doesn't know what Web3 is? And please be courageous. Okay, great. You will be rewarded. And last question, who heard about blockchain technology for the very first time, pretended to have understood it, but didn't admit it because it was too embarrassing? Okay. So remember that feeling, and this is why Fox and Happy Blocks is here. And so what's the problem? Web3 is super complex because we all have a Web 2 mindset, especially for people who don't have a tech background. And we are talking about the so-called back-end revolution, which is not tangible. Like on the screen, it looks the same. So what's blockchain about it? So this makes it super difficult to grasp. And the rapidly evolving landscape, like who would have thought in the Web3 scene here about NFTs on the Bitcoin network? I don't know who. And you know, it's humane when we are scared of something unknown. We are reluctant to take initial steps. And this, in my opinion, is the most important thing for entrepreneurs, especially who want to tap into Web3, identifying opportunities for growth and innovation. And you can read what that can lead to. So what does Fox and Happy Blocks do? So we have two pillars, Web3 education and Web3 consultancy. What we offer is an 8-week course about Web3. You don't need any knowledge. We have 2 courses simultaneously in German and in English. We have 6 students to keep the quality high but still benefit from the group strength. And we have a strong business focus. And the course is meant for entrepreneurs, business owners, and higher management. And you can afterwards migrate into our Web3 consultancy. And you can see Fox and Happy Blocks as a one-stop shop where you can implement what you have learned. And we will guide you and navigate you through the Web3 space. And you can focus on your core business. We all know how difficult that is and crucial as well. Those are some testimonials from our recent students. Matteo, for instance, he's co-founder of Vintage, a furniture company, and his co-founder actually, when she participated at our first course, she didn't even have a wallet. And afterwards, she is now accelerating her business with blockchain technology, which I find really amazing. I remember me having a wallet and standing here. It took me a couple of years. She did it after taking the course. And yeah, and this is a quote of her from Carolina. And I think I want to say, we want to make Web3 fun for entrepreneurs. I think this is our goal as well. So a few words about, well, who is behind Fox and Happy Blocks. That's me and my co-founder, and except for being 2 Web3 obsessed moms. This is our background. So I'll share a few words about my co-founder, Ursula Wolpe. She has been an IT consultant for over a decade at Salesforce and IBM. She's a business angel as well with her own company called Fox and Happy Blocks. And my name is Dr. Susan Fröhlich. I am a physician. I worked for many years in internal medicine and ICU at one of the biggest clinics here in Germany. And when COVID hit, I really started to ask myself, okay, do I really want to live my life now? So this is why I followed up with my first touch points with crypto back in 2017. So yeah, and this explains why we are called Fox and Happy Blocks. So what happened in the past few years? Our projects added up. So just to name few, I'm a DLT Talents alumni from the Frankfurt School of Finance. I started an NFT project where we became grantees of the Teasers Foundation. Some of the art pieces are on W3 Hub. And I'll be speaking at NFT NYC next month. And I just came back from LA Hackathon on Monday. Actually, I'm still quite jet lagged. So yeah, participated at a promptathon at University in Hamburg. That was quite interesting too. So we did some homework, I want to say, and this is our amazing team. I need to share some insights with you. So not only we are a diverse international team, one is located in Sydney, Nigeria, I'm based in Berlin, Spain, Marta in Spain, Ursula in Switzerland, and we're basically working 24 hours. So I thought I wouldn't have to do that after leaving the hospital, but yeah, here I am again. And what I really want to stress is that those ladies are Web3 experts. For instance, Marta wrote her thesis about decentralized autonomous organizations. So this is super incredible. Barakat is only writing blockchain content, and Caitlin used to work for a refi startup. So we have a great team. And now gift time, because Yeah, FYI, this was a sales pitch. Who didn't realize that? So, okay. Probably you have friends and family who wanted to learn more about Web3. They can subscribe to our newsletter. Afterwards, they will receive a 3-day challenge on how to set up a crypto wallet, which is of course not interesting for you, everyone here being in Web3, right? So I have another gift for everyone here. Everyone who recommends a student who is signing up for our next course on April 18th will get a 10% bonus referral, and you can check on our website how high the course fee is. So, thank you.
Any questions, remarks? Because we're over time a little bit, so maybe one comment?
Sure. How much are you looking to raise, and how do you plan to use the money?
It's a sales pitch, so we want to have new customers. So it was more to the audience, my pitch. But thank you for being here. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks again, Zoe. Mosten coming up. The clicker should work if you stand here, if you want to. No? Okay.
Hi, I'm Mohsen, CEO and founder of Eviance. We're building general AI models for funds and financial institutions to manage their risk in financial market and outperform the market. But we're not using AI to predict the market. I skipped those slides because we have not that much time. We're not using AI to predict the market. We've built AI models that manage different types of risk, like order risk, portfolio risk, value-add risk, and collaboratively together, these AI models form something like a self-driving hedge fund. And this hedge fund is currently trading in 22 different markets. We simplified these AI models into 4 financial instruments: a low-risk profile that outperforms S&P 500. This is real data for the past 2 years. A high-risk profile that outperforms Bitcoin price. A medium-risk profile that outperforms other funds. Barclay Hedge is an average index of other funds, but we also outperform Numer AI, which is a top AI hedge fund that uses AI to predict the market. And also we topped all long-only hedge fund in the crypto hedge fund research database. The fourth fund increases the number of your Bitcoin regardless of the Bitcoin price. And beside the AI models, we also developed the cloud infrastructure to run those AI models. And this cloud infrastructure enables us to streamline our onboarding process, which leads to removing transaction fees and account fees. At the end, our business model is 1% of the AUM that the fund deposits in our system, and 15% of the excess performance that we're generating for the fund with no lockups and no transaction fees. The total addressable market is immensely large, $30 trillion, but we're after hedge funds that are investing in crypto, which is around $500 billion. Our competitive advantage is our outstanding performance that outperforms other funds, and the cloud infrastructure that allows us to onboard our investors like a SaaS with a subscription model. And this is how it makes us position against our competitors. Our team are purely technical, PhDs and experts in AI and deep reinforcement learning. We have 4 US patents in designing data-intensive applications. And we've been working together for the past 5 years on different mathematical modeling and AI problems. We just launched in Berlin And we got our first partner that allows us to onboard any person with a US bank account on our system, and organically 30% of our current AUM is coming from the US. We launched our platform in a way that be conformed with BaFin, and so we also were able to land our first client here. And we're regulated with the SEC registered partner that we have in the US. Our go-to-market strategy is talking to hedge fund with our competitive advantage. That's actually the performance that we're providing, and we're providing detailed fact sheets about how we're performing in the market. And by the end of 2025, we have a forecast of reaching $80 million in revenue after churn. But after raising our pre-seed, we're gonna have placement. We're gonna need like placement agents and bigger sales team. Right now, we're raising a pre-seed, $1,350,000, mainly on continuing on our R&D. Our vision is to provide a risk management infrastructure using AI for funds, not just for the crypto market, but for the stock market. And we also tested the models. They are scalable to other markets. We're using crypto as a niche. And also a business development to increase our AUM. Please sign up on our platform, use it, give us feedback. Thank you. Any question?
Hey, thanks a lot. Very impressive how well your product performs. I've seen quite a lot of softwares tailor-made for hedge funds or any kinds of funds. Why do you, if I understood correctly, why do you want to sell a software to hedge funds versus raising your own fund? Because in terms of financial attractivity from a VC perspective.
Very valid question. Actually, we started the journey by creating a fund. This whole platform was designed for like a private fund, and at any time it can turn into a private fund. What we saw at the later stages was that think of GitHub and the open source movement, what happened to the industry. What we're seeing right now is that AI is much bigger than like what we're seeing right now. And if we provide the platform like that cloud infrastructure, and we have a specific evaluation metric that anybody can use to contribute to build new risk models, that's actually more valuable than just being a private fund. That's how we're seeing it, and building like a network of valuable clients is more important than just like raising AUM. But that's something that we can always do. And we actually talked to some lawyers. We can establish a fund in BVI, and that fund can be a user of this technology. So there's no limitation for that.
Fair.
Yeah.
Are you guys actually custodying the assets, or can you just walk me through how that infrastructure works?
Good question. Because one of the advantages that we have against other funds is that we're not high-frequency trading systems like high-end network, very expensive real estates, or like human judgment system that are biased and emotional. We're using AI as something that's cheaper but more efficient. And for that, we need to use current infrastructure on the exchanges, and we need to have the money on the exchange. So the custody is the exchange, but not all exchanges can provide enterprise level and institutional grade support. So we're using Binance Enterprise account for this, and on top of that, our cloud infrastructure comes in, and that's how we're conformed with BaFin. Because the custodian is Binance, we're only trading in a spot market, which is legitimate in Germany. And our clients are like followers of our signals. So if we do it in any other way, we need to at least wait for a year to get a license from BaFin.
All right. Thank you, Morrison.
Sure.
Last but not least, Helena, please come up. It's always hard to hear the music, right? You're like pumping already, like the outside, and yeah, we get there.
We'll get there.
But your stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Like Alex said, I am Helena from Ecolytic. Oh, this way. So we believe that sustainability is the opportunity of the century for the finance industry. So banks and every one of us as bank customers, we really play a central role in tackling climate change. We know that every third customer would be willing to change their bank for another bank that offers a green or sustainable banking product. We also know that consumers are responsible for over 60% of all greenhouse gas emissions globally. So what we do is we basically provide data-driven climate education and engagement tools, and we do this to inspire and enable bank customers to live sustainable change with every transaction. And we do this through a single point API integration in the banking app. We educate millions of customers through the front ends of banks, so we actually integrate directly into the bank's app or online platform, and our aim is to reach 100 million customers by the end of 2025. So what we offer is a modular sustainability as a service, SaaS. So we have 3 modules, and the first one is called Eco Aware. So what we do is we allow bank customers to see a CO2 emission value for every single transaction. We also provide a balance for the month, and we also let them know how they're doing compared to the national average, so in this case, the German average. Next, we have Eco Engage, and this is where the bank user can really interact, and really we can hone in on that number that we're showing the bank customer. So we ask questions like, what does your diet look like? Or how often do you eat frozen food? And some of these some of these refinement questions are really transaction-based, and some of them are user-based, because likely your diet will not change every time you go to a restaurant. Last but not least, we have Eco Action, which then allows the user to compensate their footprint, because as much as we want people to really change their behavior and think about their climate footprint when they swipe their card, we know that it is impossible to get close to zero. So we therefore offer the user the opportunity to compensate. And you can compensate a transaction, a category, or your entire balance for a specific month. The next thing that is on our roadmap is also an investment platform where banks can really showcase their own investment products, and we tie it to a UN Sustainable Development Goal. So, why are we interested in going to the US? So we know that it's the largest homogeneous financial market on the globe. And we also know that top 25 banks in the US account for 500 million accounts and cards. So we have some good traction already. We work with 20 plus banks across 3 continents. And if you bank with one of the big 4 banks in the UK, you'll soon be able to use our solution. We're partnering with Visa, payment processor TSYS, and Cloverly in the US, which is an organization that basically offers carbon credits. We were also first to market among our competitors to Canada, banking with Van City, and we are in talks with 4 of the 5 top banks in the US. So we are a relatively big team. So we're a team of 65 change makers from 20 nations with varied backgrounds. And we know that we're making a real impact. So far, 73% of users think that our solution makes their banking app more valuable. We also see that carbon footprints decreases without decreasing spending. And we also see that engagement in the banking app increases significantly. Every transaction has an impact. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the pitch. Very interesting topic, and I actually have so many questions. But how exactly does the onboarding process work? If you implement your product into an existing app and an existing interface, how does this affect the user? Like, do they have to agree in a way, or like, because all of a sudden everything changes for them? Just like to understand the other side as well.
That's a great question. So a bank can choose whether to provide this service to all of their customers. So they can choose to do opt-in or they can choose to do opt-out. What we do is, like you said, right, we integrate directly with the banks, but we also have an SDK to make it easier for banks to integrate with us. And we also have integrated, with, for example, TSYS, which process millions of transactions every day. And that is one thing that we are looking to do, is integrate with more and more players in the financial ecosystem, open banking providers, banking as a service, you name it, because we want to make it as easy as possible for the banks to integrate, because we know that many banks don't really have the systems, or they have legacy systems that are really, really clunky.
Yeah, I think this is also like a huge topic for DB. Could you explain a bit also on the accuracy on a transaction level, like per item?
Yeah, sure. So we have an open standard for our methodology, which is fully transparent, and you can find everything on our website. We also have a nonprofit daughter organization that really does a lot of academic research on our methodology, but it is also category based. So we look at MCC codes and category codes from transactions, and we use those. We also have, country-specific values, because we know that, for example, the energy mix in Germany is different from the energy mix in the Nordics, and so on. So that also is a key part of our methodology. And then we have these questions, these refinement questions that really help us hone in on what is the most accurate value. Nobody today has an accurate SKU value. That would, of course, be, like the ideal scenario, but we have to start somewhere. And the hope is that once you become a user of our app, you can understand what is 100 kilograms of CO2 emissions, because most of us don't know what that means today.
So, also like a big applause also for our investors. Thank you so much also for you. I'm just getting you here. Joanna. You have already one, right? I give you one. Oh no, that's yours, right? Here. Thank you so much for being here. Actually, we heard, like Ulrike told me in the beginning, I think last month, like on short notice, there's a Paris blockchain week this week, right? I was like, we have Miami, guys, you're here. Come on, Miami is in the house. So thank you so much also for James, Alexander from Florida Enterprise, Carly, Joanna also for Miami to make you the way actually across the Atlantic, which is great. Thank you so much. And Achim, please come up. We are about to wrap up, and then we go outside and maybe we hear the music. If someone just open the door for a sec. Sounds good. We're going there. So, usually the magic happens outside, like mingling. So I think we might extend the time of mingling a little bit today. So there are snacks outside. Also grabbing nice like flatbread or sandwich, whatever you like. Grab a drink and then let's mingle, right? And Achim, you want to close it out? No?
Thanks a lot. And everybody with a bear, please come up. We make a picture, and the rest of us will meet outside. Thanks for coming, and hope you had a lot of inspiration for whatever you want to do with all those ideas. So see you later.
Thank you, guys.